Yes, we are live. We are back. It is AEW Dynasty. AEW Dynasty has just gone off the air on pay-per-view. How's everybody doing? Welcome back to Wrestle News 365. And it is very, very late. It wouldn't be an AEW pay-per-view event without it being long and without it being very late. So be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe. As you can see right there, we are just 5 subscribers away from 20,500. So if you haven't already, subscribe, click the like button to people filing in. Get your thoughts and get your hot takes. This is the AEW Dynasty post show. Appreciate everyone that stayed up late and joined me this evening. It's been certainly a long show. Certainly, thing is, I'm going to sound probably very boring when I say this. And you're probably going to say, why you say the same things all the time? But it's just, it was a show which, look, a lot of really good matches in there, some really interesting matches, some obviously big newsworthy items, heel turns, what have you. It's just a show that doesn't need to be this long. It just doesn't need to go this amount of time. As is the case with, I think, with every AEW pay-per-view. Good pay-per-view, some really good matches. Matches that could have been shaved off by like 10 minutes, 15 minutes at points. Just didn't need to go as long as it did. Noteworthy in terms of the Young Bucks, they are back. Noteworthy in terms of heel turns and what have you, but it did not need to go that long at all. But we'll get into it because I know you guys would have been staying up late just like me. So yes, if you haven't already, click the like button. Be sure to subscribe. Let's get into this. Let's begin with the opening match of the night. Feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't it? Which was a Owen Hart Foundation men's quarterfinal match with Will Osprey facing off against Kevin Knight. And to be honest, I'm probably going to say this with a lot of things in here. I can see people already in the chat. Tiffany says hi. White Rabbit says that's one of the most boring and predictable pay-per-views I've seen. And K Chill says another shit ending from Tony Khan. That Chisel says Tony Khan doesn't think about fans having being so late, basically. The pay-per-view's going on so late. Let me make that a bit smaller. About fans being so late on a Sunday into Monday. He says people have got to go to work and school in the morning. Yeah, it's very late, isn't it? Very, very late. But the opening match was Osprey versus Kevin Knight, which again was I thought went 13 minutes long. I didn't have a problem actually with this. I thought actually this went the right amount of time. Will Osprey match, can't go really wrong with that, can you? Osprey gets the victory as one would expect. But I'm a big fan of Kevin Knight. I mentioned this on the watch along. In all of the matches that I've seen of Knight so far in AEW, and of course I saw some of the work he did in TNA. Really good stuff. I mean, really, really good stuff. He's going to be a really interesting talent for AEW going forward. It'd be interesting to see how good he is in terms of the promo, because as is always the case, that can let people down. But very impressive. I mean, initially it was meant to be Osprey versus Jay White, wasn't it, in the first round? But of course, Jay White's broken hand, so he was out. And I think Kevin Knight made the most of that. Now, Osprey must be considered, I think, one of the favorites for the tournament. Interesting because had Swerve won the AEW World Championship tonight, I think there would have been a lot of talk about, well, Hangman's the favorite to win the Owen Hart Foundation tournament, and it's going to be Hangman versus Swerve in the main event of All in Texas for the World Championship. Given the fact that Hangman did get involved in the main event, but Swerve didn't win that main event, that says to me that maybe we're not, well, maybe we are going to get still, maybe we're going to get, I mean, actually, given what's happened, I mean, this is jumping forward a little bit here, but maybe that suggests we're maybe going to get Young Bucks versus Swerve and Hangman at AEW All In. Is that where we're getting? I mean, I would have preferred, honestly, Swerve versus Hangman for AEW World Championship main event of the Stadium show, but now it looks like they actually might be teaming up against the Young Bucks, perhaps. So that says to me that maybe it's going to be Osprey winning this tournament, and then maybe it's going to be Osprey versus Moxley for the AEW World Championship at All in Texas, which I don't know what that does for me. I mean, I'm kind of over the Death Rider storyline anyway. Then obviously there was this talk about Darby Allin's going to be the next champion. Darby Allin, it got confirmed the other day. He's climbing Mount Everest. He hasn't started yet. I think he starts next week. And they're suggesting that process can take 2 months, maybe even longer. So Darby Allin's not going to be back until maybe mid to late June. You've got to build to an event in early July. So when is that even going to happen? So yeah, he's going to be out for a while. So I don't know. I don't know about that one. We've got close to 90 people watching. By the way, guys, if you haven't already, click the like button. Let's see if we can get close to 100 likes. That would be fantastic. The poll will be up in a few seconds to say, have you hit the like button? And also, as you can see on the screen, we are just 5 subscribers away. That's right, 5 single digits, 5 subscribers away from 20,500. Just to clarify, we hit 20,000 subscribers this week. So in the past 7 days alone, we have gained nearly 500 new subscribers, which is absolutely insane. So I really appreciate everyone that's a new sub, obviously the existing subscribers, everyone that's been getting involved on the channel recently. Of course, daily news videos go up. In addition to that, you get the countdown videos, which people have been enjoying. You've got a lot of watch alongs and post shows just like this. As you can see in the sidebar there, we've got WrestleMania's Saturday and Sunday. We'll be doing watch alongs for and post shows. There's going to be select Raws and SmackDowns, probably the Raw before Mania, the SmackDown before Mania, and the Raw after Mania. We'll be doing watch-alongs and post-shows. NXT Stand and Deliver on the Saturday. I'll be doing that as well. And of course, next month, it's AEW Double or Nothing, so we'll be doing that as well. So yeah, it's really exciting stuff. Now 4, just look at that, just 4 to go, 4 subscribers to go. So if you haven't already, subscribe. And also, actually, I should probably put a super chat goal on, shouldn't I? Like I did during the watch along. Let me get that super chat goal in there just as well, because it's the best way to support the channel. Is through your donations. So WN365, there you go. So I appreciate everyone that's supporting the channel, or you can join the membership as well. You get your badges, your emojis, and your exclusive members only content. So yes, Will Osprey defeats Kevin Knight. A good opening match for the pay-per-view. Crowd are into it. To be fair, actually, I want to say shout out to the Philadelphia crowd, because they mentioned this on commentary, but again, my criticism of the show is the criticism of a lot of AEW pay-per-views, which is just it's unnecessarily too long, way too long. Doesn't need to be this long, doesn't need to have this many matches. But credit to the Philadelphia crowd, because they stayed right till the end, and they were as loud as they could be. You know, it was impossible. It's impossible when that show is like nearly 5 hours long, and you go for that long. It's impossible just to be loud that long. But credit to them, because they were a good crowd. They were a good crowd this evening, and they gave it everything. So credit to them. So yes, Will Ospreay kicks off the show with a victory. Next up, it's the AEW Tag Team Championships. That's on the line. The Hurt Syndicate retain the AEW World Tag Team Championships, defeating the Learning Trees, Big Bill and Bryan Keith. As you would expect, really, when it comes to this one. I really, obviously, who doesn't like the Hurt Business, Hurt Syndicate, excuse me, you've got to get these things right, Hurt Syndicate. This was better than the match we saw at AEW Revolution. The match at AEW Revolution wasn't the biggest fan of. I felt that the Outrunners kind of fell a bit flat in that one and could have been better. This wasn't the case. I was actually quite impressed by Big Bill in particular. Maybe not so much Bryan Keith. I still think Bryan Keith, there's work that needs to be done there with him, but Big Bill, it feels like a star, doesn't he? It feels like a big deal. I would hope with what happened with Chris Jericho this evening that this Learning Tree stuff is kind of over and done, because it just feels like it should be, in all honesty, doesn't it? It feels like it should just be over and finished by this point. We did see, as you can see right there, MJF did get involved. His storyline with the Hurt Syndicate continues. There was a point which he popped up and seemingly he hit Big Bill with the Dynamite Diamond Ring, which kept Big Bill on the outside, as you can see right there, and it allowed Benjamin and Bobby Lashley to get the victory. It was a fine tag team match. Again, this was one of the matches that maybe didn't necessarily go too long, and it was actually its perfect length, which was about just over 10 minutes. Fine. Hurt Syndicate retained. Storyline with the Hurt Syndicate and MJF continues. I think that obviously we're not going to. My only worry with this storyline, I mentioned this on the watch along, and I'm interested to know what you guys think about this. Is the concern perhaps that we've kind of seen this storyline before, and what I mean by that is, if you recall, it was. It's a bit like the MJF Inner Circle storyline, where MJF oh, you're going to join the faction. You're going to join the faction. You get people within the faction going, no, don't let him. He's going to break it from within. That's what he's going to do. And then the leader goes, no, you don't know what you're talking about. And then they join anyway. And then eventually they do try and break the faction up. That's kind of the storyline they're doing here. So I don't know if MJF's going to make his own faction. We did do a countdown video about that the other day, talking about which people could possibly join an MJF faction versus the Hurt Syndicate. But it's going to be interesting to see where that goes in terms of upcoming AEW pay-per-views. I mean, are they going to go for like the trios titles? Is that what it's going to be? Possibly against the Death Riders? I don't know. I don't know the direction that they go for that one. Who's going to be MJF's tag team partner to go up against the Hurt Syndicate for the tag team titles? Is that maybe where they're going in terms of All in Texas? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. That's a curious one. We've got over 113 people watching at the moment, which is great. We're at 21 likes. If you haven't already, click the like button and be sure to subscribe. As Cara Blue says right there, hit the like indeed. Yeah, that's the one I was referring to there. John Elite for Life says a bit like the with the Pinnacle. Yeah, I wonder if that's kind of where it's going, which is, again, if that is the case, it is just a little bit like they have kind of done that. So I don't know if it's going to be faction for faction or if it's just going to be actually just going to get a tag team partner. I suppose it depends how many members they extend the Hurt Syndicate to, right? Because there have been these rumors about Cedric Alexander coming in, and obviously there's heat with Big Swole in AEW, but Alexander himself has said that he would be open to joining the former Hurt business in AEW, so I guess that is possible. So if they do that, then maybe MJF needs more than one partner. Obviously, there's been the rumors about the Dynasty, but then there was reports suggesting that no, he's not going to reform the Dynasty in AEW, even though Hammerstone's a free agent, Richard Holliday's a free agent, I think, or at least he has wrestled before in AEW, so I guess that is possible, perhaps, but we shall see. Next up, we had a Women's Owen Hart Foundation Tournament quarterfinal. Mercedes Moné defeats Julia Hart in a match that went 13 minutes. And one thing's to be said, I've spoken about this quite a lot. I mentioned this on the watch along. You can obviously have all the discussions about Mercedes Moné and the character and the booking. You know, Mercedes Hogan, she doesn't do jobs in AEW, she beats everyone, she's got all of the bouts, TBS champion, etc., etc. One thing's for certain is at the moment when it comes to Mercedes, she's putting on good matches. She is in an incredible run of putting on very impressive pay-per-view matches, in particular. Not her best. I actually did probably prefer the match she had at Revolution. There were spots that were a bit clunky at points. I mean, you still have to remember Julia Hart is still very inexperienced. It's very clear that it's Mercedes who's calling the match when it comes to this one. There was a couple of botches. So for instance, she went for the sort of Escalera arm drag, slipped off the ropes. A couple of bits of miscommunication. But to be fair, the crowd was still with it. The crowd was still into it. And the sort of final closing exchanges, which was effectively sort of trading submissions that they did, both of them sort of trading submissions, Philadelphia crowd were into it. And again, it's probably because it was still early in the show, so there were still things to be into. They weren't just completely exhausted and completely tired by that point. But the crowd were into it, and the crowd appreciated the different wrestling holds, and they appreciated the different submissions. So it was obvious that Mercedes was going to go through. I mean, to be fair, a lot of this pay-per-view, and this is never going to be a criticism of me, but I know some were saying it in the chat where they're saying, oh, it's predictable. To be honest with you, I don't have a problem with predictable. I've always mentioned this. I don't have a problem with predictable as long as it's still creative and as long as it can be predictable, still be entertaining, and still give people what they want. It's just that you just run the risk of when it's predictable, it's boring. But it's about the execution. It's always about the execution, I think. So, yes, it was predictable. Mercedes is going to win because they've effectively told us, haven't they, on AEW television that it's going to be Mercedes versus Athena. At some point, and it's going to probably be in the semi-finals because Athena's got her match, and then it's going to be Athena versus Mercedes Moné. So it's in the execution, and I thought this match was executed very well. Ronnie says it was a great pay-per-view for me. John Elite for Life says, are they waiting for Darby to come back and Moxley drop the title? I hope not, because I just think that's unnecessarily long. Courtney says, keep up the great work. I'd appreciate you, Courtney, and says, come on, people, let's get this channel growing. Appreciate you, Courtney, as well, for all of your support this evening. And yes, hit the like, as Cara Blue says right there. Hit the like if you haven't already. We've got over 100 people watching, which, by the way, guys, I mean, what an incredible community we've got with this WNU. Yeah, the WrestleNews universe is actually insane. The fact that it's, for my time here in the UK, it is 5:48 a.m. in the morning. 5:48 a.m. in the morning. And if you're in the United States, well, let me know where you're watching from, actually. But if you're in the United States, it's, close to, well past midnight. It's probably like, 10 to 1 in the United States, depending on what coast you're on. And who knows what the time is at other parts of the world. So appreciate you guys staying up with me, sticking involved with me. To have over 100 of you watching right now is actually insane. So yeah, I really, really appreciate it. What else are people saying here in the chat? The Cyber Cowboy says, how many people actually missed the Young Bucks? Well, it was one of my things I did predict in this, in my sort of surprises countdown video that I did, was saying about the Young Bucks coming back. You felt that they had to come back sooner or later. I mean, they've been gone for a while, haven't they? And they are EVPs, whatever that means. But Mercedes Moné, she goes through and is going to be facing Athena, certainly. Next, we had the Trios Championship. Now, we all knew going into this one, that Rated FTR were not going to win the World Trios Championship. The question about this was just simply, who's going to turn on who? That's what it was going to be. Who is going to turn on who? Is it going to be Dax that turns on Cope? Is it going to be Cope that turns on Dax? Is it going to be Cash Wheeler that turns on? What's going to happen? Now, in terms of the match, again, by this point, still, match was fine. Outcome was expected. Death Riders retain the AEW World Trios Championships. The ending was interesting because there was a bit of miscommunication. Edge is going for a spear. I still do that even now. Cope's going for a spear. And Wheeler Yuta gets out the way. It looks like that Cope's going to go into Dax Harwood. Doesn't happen. They go, whoa. Wheeler Yuta pushes Cope into Dax Harwood. Cope goes out the ring. Dax hits, Wheelie hits the Psycho knee. Gets the 1, 2, 3. That's done. And I went, you know what? Fair enough. Great match. You know, trios match is fun, trios match. But the question then became, who's going to turn on who? And, you know, like it's one of those ones where if you've been watching wrestling for long enough, and it's funny, now Cage just subscribed. It's a perfect gif, actually, of Christian Cage watching on, because I think this is where it's going. And we're just one subscriber away, by the way. Look at that. Just one subscriber away from 20,500, which is insane. Yeah, we've gone wondering, okay, who's going to turn on who? And if you've been watching wrestling long enough, you know when things are set up in certain ways, you know, like, okay, the way that this shot is set up right now, the turn's happening, and you start looking at people's faces. You go, all right, who's doing the heel face? Who's doing what's going on? And as quickly, Dax Harwood snatches Cope, pile drivers him, boom. You go, right. It was what they were teasing. And to be fair, you don't often see that in wrestling. You know, a lot of time they tease stuff and then they'll do it's a red herring, this actually happens. They've been teasing for weeks that Dax has got a problem with Cope. Dax has got a problem with, you know, Cash, and, you know, he's been shoving them away, and there's been frustrations, there's been tension building. And sometimes you then get like it would be Cope that would turn on them because it's all been a red herring. But no, it's exactly what they were teasing. They teased that Dax was going to turn, and that's exactly what he did. Pile drives Cope, and then he's going to hit the concerto. Cash goes up to him and goes like, what are you doing? Shoves him to the ground. No, you can't do that. And gets Cope back to his feet. Bang, hits the shatter machine on them. And they're like, fully snap. They fully snap, and then they go to town. Not only do they do the spike pile driver on the steel chair, they then hit multiple concertos. And on top of that, not only do they hit multiple concertos, they start actually like almost like mocking. Well, I'd say almost. He was mocking Cope. You know, the medical team's trying to get in. The medical team's trying to get in and check on Cope and all this kind of stuff. And Cash has got the neck brace. He puts it around his neck. He gets on the stretcher himself. It's insane, absolutely insane. So they turn heel, which again we knew a turn was coming. We just didn't know who it was going to be. Before I get into where that's going to be going, you guys are unbelievable. Look at that, just immediately. You can see it with the gifs, by the way, of people popping up that of who has just subscribed. We've hit over 20,500. I don't even know tonight that means how many new subscribers we've got, but I'm actually stunned for silence. At like nearly 6 a.m. in the morning, I am stunned for silence. The WNU, the Wrestle News universe, expanding and growing all the time. This is incredible. Like I said earlier, I think it's less than 7 days ago, we hit 20,000, and that was my target for the year, guys. The year. For 2025, my target, at the beginning of every year, you write out targets for life, New Year's resolutions. I like to do sort of yearly targets for myself to hit. And my target was to hit 20K this year, in the entirety of 2025. The fact that it's, early April, not only have we hit 20K, we're at 20,000 now, 502 is insane. And we're only growing and only getting bigger. I like to think we offer a bit of variety here on the channel too. With, like I said, the news videos that aren't really opinionated. They're just delivering the news, as the slogan says there, just wrestling news, simple as that. The kind of countdown videos, which still aren't super opiniony, but a bit more sort of speculation about where things are going to go. The live shows like this, the watch-alongs and the post-shows. And it's a big month. We've only just started this month. So everyone that's subscribed or click the like button or gets involved in the chat or send super chats in or whatever, it's much appreciated. It honestly, it really, really means the world. And this was how I even started doing stuff on YouTube, was this channel, which was 2019. So it's now like nearly 6 years ago I've been doing this channel. It's been a passion project. It's been a labor of love. So the fact that you guys are involved in it, I'm beyond speechless. So thank you. So as you can see right there with FTR, when they were attacking Cope and hitting the concerto with Cash hitting it twice, and they do the full stretch job to Cope. So we won't see Cope on television for a little while. And the question as to where this is going, I think it's quite obvious, isn't it? We're going to get FTR versus Christian Cage and Adam Copeland. My only thing I don't like about that is that, to me, means that Christian Cage is going to turn babyface, which they have teased, haven't they? They have teased that. The last few weeks we've seen issues in the patriarchy. We've seen problems mounting. We saw Nick Wayne and Mother Wayne confronting Christian Cage. I don't know if I like the idea of Christian being a babyface again. I kind of like the idea of maybe Cope being the nice guy, the lovable guy, and Cage basically still being a heel and still being a bit of a prick. But he's known Cope for a long time, so that's what he's going to do. Or maybe in the absence now of Cope for a few weeks, FTR is going to attack Christian. Maybe that's kind of the direction that they're going to go with, I think. But it feels like, all in Texas, Global Life Field, we're going to be getting FTR versus Cope and Christian. That kind of, I think, makes the most sense, doesn't it? So, yes. How many likes are we currently at? We're at 36 likes. Let's see if we can get to 50. And also, you can scan the QR code on the screen there and join the WN365 roster. Next up was the AEW Women's World Championship. Timeless Toni Storm retaining as she defeats Megan Bayne. And I will say with this one, probably because my sort of gripe with the international championship matches that it went a bit too long. I didn't think it needed to go that long. This was one of my favorite matches of the night. I must say, absolutely one of my favorite matches of the night. I thought that, yes, it was obvious. Most likely you're thinking, Toni Storm's going to retain the title here. But I thought this was a great example of how you can have someone retain the championship, but you can protect the opponent in the meantime, because as we've seen in the build-up to this, this match, Megan Bayne has been completely lopsided, hasn't she? She's absolutely dominated Toni Storm. And one of the things you would give credit is they've built her up so well. They've built her up as, this sort of monster. Nobody can beat her. Nobody can touch her. And how do they have Toni Storm win? By protecting Megan Bayne. And effectively, what they did is just that. They had Megan Bayne dominate Toni Storm, kicking out of finishes, kicking out of 1, Storm 0, kicking out of 1, getting back to 6. She absolutely dominated Toni Storm. And in the end, Storm effectively gets lucky with an inside cradle. Maybe just a bit of experience and inexperience on the part of Megan Bayne to get the victory. Because Toni Storm's only just won the championship. And she's the best women's wrestler they've got in terms of popularity, in terms of character, promos, matches. But I just thought this was a really psychologically solid match, and that's my thing with it. You know, there are definitely matches on this show where you go, we're going to get to them shortly, psychology isn't really there on that, or goes a bit too long, too many false finishes. I'm not really sure that worked. I don't think you can say that about this match. I think this match you can say, actually, psychologically, that was solid. That makes sense. Those near falls were legitimate near falls. Those false finishes were good false finishes. They protected Megan Bayne. I don't think Megan Bayne comes out of this match looking any weaker. I think she looks stronger. And that should be the aim when you've got, you know, an emerging talent like Megan Bayne, when you've got someone that the whole gimmick is that they're super strong and kind of unbeatable. You do, from a booking point of view, back yourself into a corner and go, how would you beat the unbeatable? Well, you don't have plans to switch the title. And it's you basically, you just say it's a fluke, and you have the sort of stronger person dominate the match. So I thought Toni Storm did a fantastic job. I thought Megan Bayne did a fantastic job. They had sort of Luther neutralize Penelope Ford, who was at ringside, as you can see right there, sort of taking her to the back. But I thought they did the right thing in that Toni Storm retains. Megan Bayne looks strong. I don't know if they'll, you know, go to a rematch or anything like that. I think that the challenge now will be for AEW is, how do you keep Megan Bayne on television? How do you keep Megan Bayne looking strong now that she seemingly is going to be out of the AEW Women's World Championship picture? As we get closer to All In, of course, it's going to be a situation whereby the winner of the Women's Owen Hart Foundation tournament is going to face Timeless Toni Storm. That was a scary spot there. I forgot about that. You see that right there? It was this sort of German suplex off the middle rope, and Megan Bayne landed jarring on her neck. It looked like she had just completely snapped her neck. It was the most brutal of brutal landings. Oh my God, it was unbelievable. But fortunately, it looks like she was okay. But yeah, that was very, very, very scary, to say the least. But yeah, in terms of the outcome, I think it was the right decision. In terms of the booking, in terms of the finish, I thought it was right. I thought everything they did in this one, I just think worked. I thought it was a well-done match and well executed. We're 9 likes away from 50 likes, so if you haven't already, click the like button. What are people saying here? Barlow says, watch from Philly, couldn't go to the show. Appreciate you, Barlow. Courtney says, yep, I'm with you, Owen, about to finish work at 6 a.m. in London. I tell you, that's working on nights. Courtney's working on nights, no doubt about that. That is tough. That Chisel appreciates the support for hitting over 20,500, and Carla as well joining in the celebrations too about hitting over 20,500 as well. So I appreciate everyone's support and well wishes, and everyone getting involved in the chat as well. And of course, as you can see, when there is a new subscriber, or if there's like super chats or anything like that, that was the inside package in which Toni Storm won, they pop up on the screen as well. So that's a nice little shout out for if you do put in a super chat or you subscribe or anything like that. Next up, we go to another Owen Hart men's quarterfinal match. Kyle Fletcher defeating Mark Briscoe. Again, this was a good match, but this was one of those ones where it really didn't need to go this long. And I will... this is when I will say that this is a match it didn't need to be on the show. It was a good match, but this is one of those ones where you could put that as main event at Collision. You could put that, you know, on Dynamite in the main event, and it'd be a really good TV match. And it was good. You know what I mean? It was a good match. I don't know if I necessarily like the psychology of there was a spot in there where Kyle Fletcher does a power bomb onto Mark Briscoe onto the apron twice and then onto the barricade, and that's not the finish. I'm just like, well, that can be that should be a sort of match closing angle, or that should be a thing where you do that and they don't get back in the ring. It just felt a bit unnecessary. As you can see, the spot right there was a suplex onto a chair because Mark Briscoe had got so many chairs into the ring. It just, those kind of sort of psychology moments, I was just a bit like, and to me, maybe I'm wrong in this, that to me feels like, there's so many matches on this show. What can we do to stand out? What can we do to stand out? Because there's so many things on the, so you got to be memorable. Got to be memorable because there's so many matches and so long. And it was just a match that, again, I enjoyed it and I thought it was a good match. And the crowd are into it because crowd loves Mark Briscoe. How could you not love Mark Briscoe? But when I'm looking at taking a step back and I'm looking at the overall pay-per-view and I'm thinking how long, you know, some of the main event, the two last matches went. The two last matches went over 30 minutes plus, by the way. I look at this and go, oh, that could have been Dynamite. That could have been Collision. And if you do want to get people watching Collision, you got to put some of these matches in those primetime spots. You know, you got to get like, right, let's put Owen Hart Foundation Tournament quarterfinal match, Mark Briscoe and Kyle Fletcher. I mean, they've had it quite a lot on television. That was part of the build. Is that a selling point for a pay-per-view? Oh, we don't really need that in there. That can be main event of TV, you know, and it'll be a good match. Let's do that. It wasn't needed, really, was it? And it's not to say that because it wasn't needed, it was a bad match. Not at all, because they're going to have good matches. They always have good matches. Kyle Fletcher's having fantastic match. He had a great match against Will Osprey, and as I said, who doesn't like Mark Briscoe? So no problem with that. It just was one of those ones where you go, I don't think that was beneficial to the pay-per-view in terms of the length, because the show did drag, you know, and yeah, it just wasn't needed in that regard, in my opinion, anyway. Keep in mind, Mark Briscoe and Fletcher already had 3 matches in the space of 4 months with literally no build-up. It was a throwaway match. That's what I mean. It wasn't. I don't think it was necessarily needed. Next up, speaking of psychology, the mask versus title match. Chris Jericho versus Bandido. Right. Let's get into this one. First of all, Bandido. It was mask versus title. And Bandido is the brand new Ring of Honor champion. Now, this match went 18 minutes. Again, if it was me, I would have shaved off 5 minutes of this match. It didn't need to go that long. I feel like at this stage in his career and in his life, Chris Jericho, we know he is not what he was in terms of in-ring. He can still do stuff. I don't think he has any business in 2025 putting on 18-minute matches. I think if you limit Jericho to like a 12-minute match or a 10-minute match, you're probably fine. It becomes quite evident after sort of the 10-minute period that he starts to get very tired and starts to get very gassed. And I don't even mean that as like a criticism of him. If I was in my mid-50s, to be wrestling in your mid-50s, you know, at a decent level, you know, it's very impressive, but you don't need to be doing 18-minute matches. It's just not required, not need for the Ring of Honor World Championship. Do not need it. Anyway, so we go into the finish, which is Brian Keith comes out, distracts the referee. Gravity's out there as well, of course, Bandido's brother. Jericho is crawling to the corner, grabs Floyd the baseball bat, hits Bandido with the baseball bat, 1, 2, 3. And I thought, well, they're unmasking Bandido. And I did go into the match legitimately thinking, holy hell, they're going to unmask him, because there was these rumors about issues backstage, and there was this talk about how even though Jericho had put the challenge out there a few weeks ago on TV, it took a while for the match to actually be confirmed, and people thought, that's weird. Why did it take that long to be confirmed? And reportedly there were issues with Bandido's representatives, and people had called the whole situation ridiculous backstage. You thought, so they're going to unmask him. They're actually going to unmask Bandido. That's really surprising. They're going to unmask him. Wow. I can't believe that. And then I think one of the most ridiculous spots I can possibly think of in recent memory, actually, or most ridiculous finishes in recent memory. You know, sometimes people like to overuse the word sort of shitty finish or bad finish, or that doesn't make sense. The way round they did this is Bandido's family's at ringside. His mother and his sister start talking to Aubrey Edwards, and they start pointing to the fact that Chris Jericho used the baseball bat, and if you see behind the steps, the baseball bat is going to be there. And they go, and the referee goes, okay, show me. and they go find the baseball bat, and they go, see, use the baseball bat. That's still no evidence that the baseball bat was used, by the way. There's still no proof. It's just the baseball bat is there. Well, it was used, restart the match, and Bandido gets the win. In terms of a finish that makes zero sense, that is right up there. That is right up there. When on earth is a decision going to get overturned because someone's family at ringside says to the referee that something happened? I mean, I know it's wrestling, and I know that, you know, you can do whatever you want. But in terms of logic, there is zero. The amount of times in pro wrestling we see people cheating, we see people manipulating, and people's family and friends and whoever are in the crowd. Now are we suggesting that you can just actually just call a ref over and you can get it overturned? Like, that literally makes zero sense. As zero sense as Chris Jericho being the Ring of Honor World Champion in 2025. That's how it makes zero sense. It's just so unnecessary. And the match itself was fine. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't bad. It wasn't amazing. It was fine. But in terms of the finish, I mean, I don't know. Literally, I don't know. Just zero. Like, literally, how did you win the Ring of Honor World title? My mum told that the opponent was cheating. What are we doing here? Like, what are we doing here? It makes zero sense. Hopefully the silver lining involved in all of this is that this learning tree stuff is done. I think with Chris Jericho, the thing that worked for him in WWE is that he used to go away. You know, he used to go away for a while. Fans would miss him. He would come back, reinvent himself, stay for a bit, go away, come back. Jericho just needs to be off AEW TV for me. You know, obviously we got All in Texas coming up. It's a big show. Have him come back, I don't know, after Double or Nothing or something, with something different character, set him the challenge, reinvent yourself again. This learning tree stuff wasn't great. You being on TV constantly isn't great. Take some time, think of something, and try something else. Throw something else at the wall and see if it sticks, because, you know, I get that this whole character's a troll and the whole point is to annoy, but it was just, this finish was just awful. The finish was so bad. It just didn't make any sense at all. So Chris Jericho loses the Ring of Honor World Championship. They'll probably have a rematch though at Supercard of Honor. So yes. Next up was the TNT Championship. Adam Cole winning his first championship gold in All Elite Wrestling, defeating Daniel Garcia. Once again, talking about stipulations or things that don't make a lot of sense. The stipulation in this one is the match had no time limit, and outside interference was strictly prohibited. No time limit, I thought that might be actually the phrase for the whole pay-per-view, because it certainly felt like this pay-per-view had no time limit. I love the stipulation of outside interference is strictly prohibited, because shouldn't that be the case for every match? But again, this is pro wrestling after all. I suppose it doesn't really work like that. But the story of this one was effectively that Adam Cole, obviously, had the injury a couple of years ago where he jumped off the ramp, broke his foot, and he had to have screws and a cadaver bone put into his foot and what have you. And there was a spot earlier on in the match where it looked like that he had hurt his foot again, as you can see. So that was the whole story throughout the entirety of the whole match, is that Daniel Garcia is working over the foot. He's working over the foot. It's going to hurt his foot. His foot's going to be, a problem. In the end, it wasn't. I felt a bit unfortunate for these two. I felt a bit bad for these two because the crowd tried to get involved, and the match itself wasn't awful. But by this point, the crowd was tired because they knew what was coming up. They knew that they had the International Championship match coming up, and obviously the main event. And not that they weren't interested, but they were just trying to preserve energy. Little did they know as well how long they still had left. I mean, after this match, they still had an hour of in-ring action to go. So little did they know that they were still going to have, again, an hour's worth of stuff still to sit through. So they were like, this is going for quite some time. So yeah, the crowd were just largely waiting for this one to get done. And this is when you do go back to, you go, well, Kyle Fletcher, Mark Briscoe, should that have really been on the card? Probably not. Will Osprey versus Kevin Knight, did that really need to be on the card? Probably not. I know they wanted to have Owen Hart representation on the card, so maybe that's why they did it. But there were a couple of matches, even the Jericho Bandido one, save it for Supercard of Honor. You don't need it on the show. Like, you really, really don't. And what made, and even this one, this is one where you go, well, actually, in reality, this could have been a situation where this could have been a Collision main event. I think this would have been better suited. Put it in the main event of Collision on Saturday. Have a title change. Get people interested. Know that, they switched titles on Collision. I better watch that next Saturday. Have it for then. Or have it in the Collision after Dynasty, or the main event of Dynamite after Dynasty. Something this just felt like this wasn't really needed in this spot on the card, in my opinion anyway. How many people have we got? We've got 53 likes at the moment. If you haven't already clicked the like button, we still got close to 120 people watching, which is great. We are over 20,500 subscribers once again. Really appreciate everyone that's click subscribe, got involved this evening. It's been a very, 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 very long evening, to say the least, and appreciate everyone that's still up, still getting involved, and still interacting in the chat. As you can see right there, Adam Cole winning the TNT Championship, his first championship in AEW. There was a little bit after the match where Adam Cole and Daniel Garcia shook hands, and Daniel Garcia did sort of raise the arms, kind of reluctantly, of Adam Cole. I don't really know, to be honest, where this goes from here, who he faces off against. Maybe that means Cole's going to be on Collision quite a bit. We shall see. When we get into our final two matches, beginning with the AEW International Championship, I must say this match, I mean, obviously a lot of people were really excited, really looking forward to this one. Kenny Omega retains the AEW International Championship against Ricochet and Speedball Mike Bailey. Again, this was a match that a lot of people were looking forward to. Certainly, I would probably give it 4 stars, 4.25. You would say it was the match of the night. It's not to take away from the quality. It was as good as match as you thought. It went 31 minutes. It probably needed 25, I think. Another one where it went unnecessarily long for me. And it doesn't necessarily mean that's a bad match. It doesn't necessarily mean, what you're saying, how can you say that match is mid? How can you say that match is terrible? It's not saying that at all. It's just saying that for me, and maybe this is just me, I'm interested to see what you guys think about this, but for me, a good match isn't dependent on how long it goes for. Like, a good match isn't dependent on its duration. I know that some people will say, well, it's impossible to have a good 5-minute match, or it's impossible to have a good 8-minute match. I disagree. A good match isn't necessarily about time. Like, every good match doesn't have to be a 30-minute plus epic. It doesn't need to be. That's like saying a good movie's got to be 3 hours long, or a good movie's got to be, over 3 hours. No. A great movie can be an hour and a half. A great hour of television can be 30 minutes. It doesn't have to be, an hour and a half. Just the same as a good match. A good match doesn't have to be 31 minutes long. Some matches, of course, that's the great point, is that it takes time to build, and like with a good film, sometimes it takes a long time to constantly build up, and you've got to tell a story, and it's got to come to a crescendo, and that's the whole point. That's fine. No problem with that. Totally get that. But some matches just don't need to go that long. But as you would expect, a ton of innovative spots, a ton of really impressive spots. Each guy certainly got their shit in, to say the least. I think, Ricochet and Speedball have signed with AEW over the past 12 months, and certainly in a featured spot here against Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega is just an absolute animal, an absolute machine. The fact he's able to do what he is after having the amount, 2 feet of intestine removed from his body, is just absolutely insane, absolutely nuts. But Omega gets the victory, as you would expect. As you can see right there, Speedball hurting his knee was kind of playing into the finish of this one. But Omega in the end gets the victory, hitting an avalanche one-winged angel off the top rope, which was, again, unbelievably impressive, pinning Ricochet in the process and getting the 1-2-3, as you can see right there. Post-match, we did get what I had kind of predicted, and my prediction was that we were going to get a face-off between Omega and Okada. That's what we got. We got this reaction. We got this face-off between Okada and Omega, seemingly teasing a match at AEW All in Texas. But what was hilarious was, clearly, I thought at this point, because they were running long, so that it was quite awkward, because Okada came out and they stared at each other for maybe half a second, and then Omega went to the back really quickly, almost suggesting like, this has been going on for ages. We need to wrap it up here. So I thought, the main event's not going to go that long, because that's what they were trying to do. And no, But we got a face-off. This is one's going to All in Texas. We're getting the match. They might as well just announce it now at this point. Sell some tickets. And then finally, we get the AEW World Championship main event. There was a lot of debate and discussion. Is Swerve going to win the AEW World Championship? Didn't happen. Swerve Strickland does not defeat Jon Moxley for the AEW World Championship, and the Death Riders still have the death grip on the AEW World title. As far as a match, it was fine. I mean, at this point, I think crowd, I don't blame them, were absolutely exhausted, completely tired. Again, this was the longest match of the night, 31 minutes and 35 seconds. Did not need to go this long at all. I mean, at all. And it was really, I suppose, a typical Death Riders Jon Moxley main event, which we've seen in a lot of these main events, which is interference, ref bump, a pretty remarkable ref bump, actually, to be honest with you. Paul Turner took a chair shot to the head, which is kind of nuts, actually, isn't it? I mean, the ref bump this time around is Jon Moxley throws a steel chair square in the face of Paul Turner, which is pretty wild. There was interference from Marina Shafir. I was expecting maybe Willow Nightingale to come out and get involved. Didn't happen. A big spot where Swerve Strickland hits a swerve stomp through the announce table, but still it's not enough to defeat Jon Moxley. But at this point, you did think, is this going to be the moment that it happens? It was not. Hangman Page comes out, teases hitting the buckshot lariat on Swerve Strickland. He doesn't be able to hit on anyone, actually, because it looks like he was going to change his mind and go after Moxley. Death Riders came out, but he did hit the Deadeye on Mox. So by this point, you think, Swerve's going to be, it's going to happen. The Ops come out, take out the Death Riders. Swerve's going to win. This is what's going to happen. Swerve hit the Swerve Stomp. Took a lifetime to get there, but he did it. Hit the Swerve Stomp. This is going to be it. Then we get Blackout, and as you can see right there, the Young Bucks return, hit the BTE trigger, whatever it is, EVP trigger at this point, and cost Swerve Strickland the AEW World Championship in the process, allow for Jon Moxley to retain the AEW World Championship, and the Young Bucks are now back. Disappointed in the ending, because I still think the bigger main event is Swerve versus Hangman. All in Texas. Doesn't look like that's where they're going. It looks like actually it's probably going to be Swerve and Hangman versus the Young Bucks, which seems very forced. I don't know if the Young Bucks will be with the Death Riders. Last time we saw them, they kind of ran away from the Death Riders, said they're going to work from home. So it was obviously they're going to be coming back soon. But Swerve and Hangman as a tag team, I would have preferred them to carry on facing each other. Texas Deathmatch main event, All in Texas. They kind of deserve that. And that means Moxley's going to be in the main event of All in Texas, unless, of course, Osprey. Unless he drops it at the Double or Nothing, but to who? Because I think Osprey's going to win the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. So this Death Riders thing is just played out, isn't it? It's just played out, and I just think people just want to see the end of it. And, it's remarkable still that the briefcase holding the championship, you haven't seen the World Championship for so long. It's just wild, isn't it? It really is wild. So there you go. That was AEW Dynasty for you guys. Appreciate everyone that's tuned in. Be sure to click the like button. We've got over 140 people watching at 6:20 in the morning, which is amazing. So appreciate you. If you haven't already, click the like button. As you can see there, in terms of subscribers, we're at 20,506. So on the way out, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. What's coming up? We'll be having news videos coming up later today. In addition to that, we'll be having countdown videos discussing all the things happened at AEW Dynasty and anything else that happens in the meantime. Of course, a reminder, we'll be live for WrestleMania both nights, select episodes of Raw and SmackDown. You can scan that QR code and you can join the WN365 roster. You get your badges, your emojis, and your exclusive members-only content. I appreciate everyone that's tuned in, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Peace.